you just try to beat me?
I did beat you.
You did not.
Oh, yeah. They'll see it on the video.
They will see it on the video. Which I won, clearly. Maybe the only thing that we defeat you in this year.
Oh.
My bracket has just been an absolute travesty.
Yeah.
My strategy, which I thought was a superior strategy to everybody else's strategy, unfortunately, did let me down quite dramatically. I once heard a man say dramatically.
Dramatically.
Which is not a word, but it was a combination of drastic and dramatic that he accidentally formed, and I kind of like it.
There you go.
So it was a dramatic failure. What's been going on with you, brother?
Well, it is March, and that brings about March Madness.
Yeah.
And so, we've been in the baseball, and this is a baseball podcast, but it's also good to talk about college basketball, especially when you're leading in the bracket challenge. But
Are you?
No, Cooper's actually leading right now.
Who doesn't work here, by the way?
Yeah, he doesn't work here, but they let him in, and I paid his $20.
I didn't let him in. I was not consulted.
If y'all don't know Andrew that well, Andrew is very convincing. And so he convinced everybody in the office that he was going to win this.
Yeah.
When I knew what his strategy was, and his strategy was terrible. Not saying he couldn't win it.
Yeah.
He just chose to do the wrong strategy.
You got to believe in yourself.
Which we're going to talk about that today, ironically. But also, Ryan convinced everybody that Duke's number one player was dead.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, so we're a 13-person group, and we're probably the only group in the entire world, over 12 or over people, that nobody chose Duke.
I took them for a while because of my strategy.
Right, yeah, I remember. But nobody's got them winning. And there's probably no other group in America that doesn't have at least one team picking the odds-on favorite to win.
Yeah, but we're idiots.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh well, it happens.
Yeah, so apparently Cooper can get the final two wrong and still win the bracket just because nobody chose Duke.
Yeah, I've got a friend of mine. She's from DeVille. She actually married Wes Pierce. Wes has done some events. He's a pastor out in Ruston. They got married. They had a boy named Archie, and his birthday is in March. He just turned 1, and they did a Arch Madness party. And
somebody's got too much free time.
I got to tell you, Kennedy is. She's one of those people that everything she does excellent. A lot like your daughters. And so, I was not surprised in the least to see how well done it was. It was. I'm not somebody who does like birthdays and stuff like that, but it was an impressive display for Arch Madness, and
that's pretty cool.
And I'll remember his birthday for the rest of my life now. And I don't care at all about birthdays, but I will never forget when his birthday comes about. That's pretty brilliant. So tip of the cap, Miss Kennedy Pierce and Wes Pierce by proxy. I'm sure he had just as much to do with it.
Oh, I'm sure he did something or took some kind of credit or something.
Probably was all his idea. I believe the execution and everything was also probably Wes, and so.
Well, 22 years ago, I really wanted to name my first daughter Espen, and but my wife did not go for that.
Espen?
Espen.
You're gonna have to explain to me.
Yeah.
I've never heard of
Espen.
Yeah.
ESPN.
No,
Espen.
That's not why.
Oh yeah.
No.
This is, yeah. This
You're
is
serious?
right. Yeah, serious as hard.
You really wanted to do that?
I really wanted to name her Espen. I thought it would be great.
And you were going to spell it like that too?
Oh, yeah. Well, my wife did not think it was perfect.
I don't.
Hey, that's
My kids have some unusual names.
You don't think Espen would have been
all
there with Aria?
All I can think about when you say Espen is that scene from Dumb and Dumber when he's telling them they're going to someplace warm. And it was Aspen.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can think about. Aspen.
So you never considered naming your kids Espen?
Not only did I not consider it, I would have never even considered that to be a plausible idea that anyone would go for. And our son, Fox News, hey, what was your plan?
Well, here's what's fun about that.
No idea.
So with Cooper's name, his name was going to be Anderson Cooper. Ironically, with the comment that you just made. But when Anderson Cooper decided to go to the dark side, then we were like, no, we not going to do that.
There's a lot of people who don't understand what's happening right now, and I'm happy for you because this is a terrible, terrible thing. Yeah. Anything else been going on with you lately? I know we've been baseballing it up, but I don't have a lot of additional comments on our season currently. We're just trying not to implode, and I won't say that we're succeeding, but we're trying not to implode.
Hey, Cooper's hit successively in the last 4 games for the Mangos JV team, so I'm excited about that.
Yep.
And last night he even bunted successfully and down first base line with nobody else on. So happy about that. Other than that, everything's good. We are headed on vacation tomorrow,
That's right.
which is why we're filming a little early this week. But so we'll be headed on a family cruise Thursday morning.
Yep.
So y'all be praying for us because, we're having to take one for the team and go, to the Caribbean islands and go on this cruise and eat all that we can eat and hang out and work out and play basketball. And all. So y'all be praying for us during this time.
Take one for the team. That's what we're going with.
Amen.
Okay.
Well, we could have stayed
Yes.
for the
Praise
FCCS Mangum ball game.
Yeah.
But we're taking one for the team and going to the Caribbean islands.
I was about to say something horrible, and then immediately caught myself.
The Holy Spirit said,
Thankfully.
"Don't say it."
Wow, it was like, my mind runs to dark places.
No.
I will say it this way.
You've been hanging out with Schreiber?
No. I hope that there is some scenario where Cooper is needed
Yeah.
and cannot be
Cannot perform
produced
his
because he
duties.
is in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how that would come about.
Well,
My
he's coming
mind
in-
went super dark.
No, he's coming in for Monday.
Yeah.
For that ball game. So
Okay.
we'll play it again on
Praise
Monday.
God. Praise God.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
other than that, man, life is good. Things are good. Just happy about some new things that God has in our lives. And, I like it when other people around me are excited.
Yeah.
And I know that's going to kind of maybe lead into today's question a little bit, but I like people happy. I like people doing good. I like people when they're excited. And it just seems like there's a lot of people around me right now that are excited.
Yep.
And so I'm not even having to get them that way. I'm not really having to do anything. And they're just excited and they're happy and they're, moving forward in life. And man, I like it. That's one of the greatest places for me to be. Somebody that hadn't talked to me in a couple months really texted me yesterday and just said, "How are things in your world?" They were responding to a text I sent them, but then they said, "How are things in your world?" And I really don't know a time where they've been better.
Yeah.
That's
good.
Some people would look at some different things because Elena did take a job in Dallas. She'll be moving to Dallas, and so 2 of my daughters will be living in Dallas. Cooper's growing up. People are like, yeah, kids moving out of the house this and time. We got some other transitions that are happening right now, and people could look at that and be like, man, how can you do it? But really, I don't know a better time in our lives. I think the last month is really, not that any time's bad, but I think it's just been really, really good for the Russells and for everybody around us too.
Yeah. That's good, man. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. We have started to play some pickleball at our church, which is something that we used to do at River with Fresh and some of the youth and stuff like that. Crockett is it's a little different crowd.
Yeah.
It just is. You'd think that, not located that far, but the crowds are very different. Mm-hmm. And so this is kind of, for the most part, this is most of their introduction to the game. And so, man, it's been really cool, and there's a lot of people kind of excited about that.
Who led that? Did you lead that or somebody else?
Yeah, I did. But the reason is because it's something that, my wife is very good at it. And Courtney, that's my wife if you didn't know. Courtney is uber athletic, super athletic. But there's just a gap between the strength, physical strength and speed between a male and a female. There just is. And so most of the things that we do, I have to reserve my strength and speed to keep her safe. It's just, there's no way around it. Whether we're throwing, I can't throw as hard as I can to her, as great as she is. And this is not a knock to her, but I just can't. Right. It would hurt her. We can't do jujitsu at the most. And so the thing that's so great about pickleball is it's the only thing that her and I can compete in athletically, and I can try as hard as I can, and it's to no consequence. She can compete, and there's no risk of any kind of injury to her, and so it's something that we really enjoy competing in. And my wife, at most things, I do not say this lightly, my wife at most things will beat most men at most things. She is every bit sports obsessed as I am. The problem is I am also sports obsessed, and so it's fun for us to be able to compete together. We really enjoy getting to play, and we just haven't in a long time. And
who is the better pickleball player?
I can beat her right now. I don't know how long that will last right now, though. But I'm also more practiced than she is.
But you can try as hard as you want to, and it won't hurt her in any way.
Yeah, correct.
So that's the part.
Thing is it's not like I can go out and stomp her. You know what I mean? We have very competitive games because she's athletic, she's very smart, and when her and I do things together, like I will help her beat me, not by letting her beat me, but by explaining to her what am I doing that's keeping her from being successful, and what she can do to get around that. And so, last time we played, I was kind of explaining to her how I cut off the court and make the court smaller for her, which makes everything more difficult. And explaining to her, like, hey, here's your best option here. And within 3 or 4 hits, she starts ripping the ball down these lines, making it very, very difficult for me to play. And so, you give her a few more reps at that, where she can really hit those shots clean, I'm going to have to change the way I play. Well, otherwise, she'll be beating me. Yeah. And then once I back off the net, because I have to, well, the whole game changes then. You know what I mean? And so I will say currently I can beat her. But again, I'm more practiced than she is. I've played a bit more than her because she, I don't know if you know this, has had 4 children. Right. And so there's a lot of...
While she's having kids, you're practicing pickleball.
Yeah. And horseshoes and cornhole and, everything else.
So do you have several people that want to play with y'all?
Yeah. We got a bunch of the youth and stuff that are kind of getting the hang of it. The trick is with students is keeping them encouraged while they're learning, because it's high school athletes expect to pick something up and be successful. And so when you're learning something new, especially something like pickleball, which is kind of a hybrid between tennis and ping pong, is the best way I could explain it. There's some nuance to it, and anyone can play it and have a good time, but to be really good at it is different than just playing it. And so a lot of them want to be successful right away, and they're not seeing that success. And so just keeping them motivated and stuff like that. But now, starting to have conversations with the adults who've been seeing pickleball and haven't had an opportunity to play or haven't had anywhere to go. And now they're going to, they're wanting to start getting involved. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. It's a neat game that will really bring the community together. And I was introduced to it when I was 16 years old. So I've been playing pickleball, not often, but I have been playing a lot longer than most people have been playing pickleball, because of a totally random thing. I went on vacation with my dad one time, and he was telling me about this game, and we were in Branson. And he was like, man, there's this game called pickleball. I think you'll really like it. And this was my biological father. First time I ever went on a trip with him. And so we're all just kind of getting to know each other. He knew I was a sports guy, and he was like, I think you'll really like this. And boy, did I. I just really enjoyed it. And so I played it a few times here and there with him. We have a pickleball court at their house, which again, we just didn't play much, but we played some. And then all of a sudden, a few years ago, it hits mainstream. And I'm like, no way. I never would have thought that was going to become like a big thing like it has. And so it's been a lot of fun, man.
Cool.
But yeah, that's kind of
exciting.
That's kind of been lately.
That people can get excited about, hang out with each other, fellowship, make community with each other is a good thing.
Yeah. I like trying to bring people together, and for the big thing, and this is a lot of people's struggle in life, is that and people assume that I'm this way because I would never say I'm not competitive. That's not true. What I'm not is winning obsessed. What I mean by that is if we had 10 people together playing pickleball, I would play around until I figured out who the worst person is. And if I'm the best person, I'm going to get the worst person on my team and see if I can win with them. I'm going to give everything I have to try to win, but I'm going to do it with the person I'm least likely to win with for two reasons. One, makes it fun, like challenging. Two, I'd love to get them a win. You know what I mean? Like they did not expect to have success. I love to give them the opportunity to be successful and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun to me.
I like that.
And so many people like
want to pick the best person.
Yeah, they're going to do everything they can to try to win. And now if you're doing like a tournament or something like that, that's a different thing. Yeah. If I was going to go enter a tournament, sure, I'd take somebody who was good. But if we're just hanging out, trying to have community together, man, this is not the time to try to bury your enemies. You know what I mean?
So Case and King is very competitive. And
I don't even want to talk about Case and King.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about last night.
Case and King hit 2 home runs off of us last night. And I love Case and King, but not for the next – he's probably got – at least another 12 hours.
Case and King is very competitive, to say the least. Their whole family is competitive, but he's very competitive. And so the other night, they had Bible study at the house, in the pool house, for the girls and the guys. And then afterwards, they asked if they could play hide and go seek. And they wanted to play it in the house. We have a fairly large house that has a lot of spots. But Kaysen says, I want to be on Cooper's team. So Kaysen's the most athletic, the best, athlete there or whatever. But he wants to win so bad that he's demanding to be on Cooper's team.
Yeah.
Why? Because he knows that Cooper should know his house better than anybody else.
That's right.
And so then they want to go first.
Yeah. Strategically, it's a brilliant move.
Right. And so, and then I'm just laughing about it because he is so competitive that he, even at hide and go seek, he wants to stack the odds in his favor to succeed. And so Cooper and Kaysen hid first, and the entire game was everybody else looking for them. That was the whole night, 3 hours or whatever, of hide and go seek. But that's the way he is.
Did you play much hide and seek in your life?
No.
I've ended up in some pretty precarious situations playing hide and seek over the years. Yeah. We had a big game at the River of Life. It was probably 5-6 years ago.
I remember y'all having some.
Yeah, I hid inside of a popcorn machine for a while, like a long while, long enough to where I was injured when I came out of the popcorn machine. And
so I think they went in the storage room, found an attic access.
There we go.
And went down the deal and hid inside of some ductwork.
Very good.
In the deal, yeah. So that's the reason my air conditioner doesn't work anymore. Yeah.
I like it.
So yeah, but man, life is good. Things are good, and getting ready to go on vacation.
Yeah. So you're going on a trip, and I think this is a great segue into a good get to know you segment question because I don't know that we'd necessarily land opposite, but I do think that we would have a different opinion, at least to a degree, are vacations important? And if so, or if not, why?
Yeah. So, we may see things a little differently. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Oh, I can go first if you
I'll say
prefer.
You go first.
Sure.
First. That way the wrong one goes first, and then the right one ends up.
Yeah, so I would say that being able to press reset from time to time is very important. Now, how that reset happens, or what is reset for you, that can vary. I'm not somebody who, like, if my family and I went to Disney World this week, right? Which I haven't been to Disney since I was 14, but I will say I've always really enjoyed Disney. I like amusement parks. I like rides, and so anywhere where I can ride roller coasters, great time for me. But I will say that that's not the type of situation that presses reset for me. And so typically trips tend to be, I don't want to call them chores. I enjoy them. I enjoy what my children get out of them, and I think that it's important for them to be able to have experiences. I know financially, everybody doesn't get to have the same experiences. All the big trips and stuff that we go on, someone else funds. We just don't have, money to do stuff like that. Our priorities are a little bit different than some people's. Not saying better, just different. And so we allocate our money certain ways, and just spending a whole bunch of money on trips is not something that we get to do. I got 2 trips coming up this year. I didn't pay for either of them, and we are blessed to have people in our life that occasionally give us opportunities to do stuff like that. We are very thankful for those opportunities, but it's not how we reset. It's not how we reset. I'm super glad my kids get those experiences, though. Now, because of the constant moving and stuff and the protector nature of me, those trips tend to be very high stress for me, because we're in a lot of situations around a lot of people that I don't know. I've gotten into the weeds of this before on an episode, so I won't rehash all of it. But just suffice it to say, I'm a lot more uncomfortable around people I don't know than most people probably are, especially as it pertains to my children. And so, like, I am scowling at the world, the entire time I'm on a trip, because it's like, if something goes missing, if one of my children goes missing, it will likely not happen in Crowville. It'll happen when I'm somewhere I'm not familiar with people I'm not familiar with. And so I tend to be on high alert a lot during stuff like that. So there's not a lot of like people talking about going to the beach, and which I hate, by the way. If I've not made that very clear over the years, I despise the beach. But they talk about like going up and laying out on the beach and, kicking back, and just, I could never do that. I'd be too worried. And for the record, I'm not saying that's a good thing. This is not me saying this is the way to be.
Yeah.
It just is, it's my given nature that I have to push back against. We talked a lot about nature versus nurture earlier this week with some of the guys, and that's a part of my nature that I have to shove back against hard, because it can very easily overtake me. And so I would say, all in all, I definitely think that time to reset is super, super important. How you go about that time, not near as important to me. Doesn't hold a lot of value. A perfect reset for me is just being at home with my family for a week, not having to answer the phone. I spend a lot of time on the phone, on a computer. And so just being able to kind of shelf that for a second, take a breath from that, and know that, like, hey, I'm about to go play with my kids or hang out with my wife, and there's nothing that's going to take me away from that until I'm ready to move on into something else. That's reset. And
is that possible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Work-wise, it's possible.
Ministry-wise?
No.
Life-wise?
Ministry-wise, no. Life-wise, I don't know. It's hard to say. I can definitely tell you that there are times that I will just go put my phone away. I do it a lot. When I get to the house, a lot of times I just go put my phone up, and now I'll check it from time to time, because it's not a reset week. I've not elected that to be a reset week, and there's a whole lot of things I'd have to set up to make sure that I wasn't needed. That would take a lot of extra work to figure that out. But for the most part, I put my phone away, and just check it periodically, make sure nothing's on fire. The problem is people know where I am, and people seek me out constantly. And so, and because I love people, completely separating from access to me is very hard for me to do. Because if they do need me, I do want to be available. Yeah. And so it's the pastor side of me is very it's you can't really shelf that, you know, and it's calling, and, you know, I'm grateful to have that calling. And so it comes with, I don't mean it the way it sounds, but it comes with a little bit of baggage. And, you know, I don't mean that in an unappreciative way. It just, there's stuff I have to tend to. Not everybody has to tend to, you know. I got to raise some other people's kids. I got to, you know, be the friend to some adults that don't have friends. You know, I've got to be the voice of reason to a lot of people in a lot of situations that are unfair or where they were wrongly handled, and it's pretty constant. And so, yeah, it is very difficult to unplug completely, but you know, doing the best you can, getting out on the water for a minute, going fishing, putting your phone away, and just throwing the ball in the yard for a couple hours with my kids, and just not having to answer to anybody for a second. Stuff like that helps me reset, and I think that is extremely valuable.
Amen. Yeah, we don't see things a lot different on this. You know, so, but I do think that a reset is very important, and it's hard for me to do it. Well, it's hard for me and Becky because we both like to work. We generally like to help people and like to work. And so it's difficult for us to do it without being on vacation or without being gone. And so especially both of us at the same time. Because to be honest, a lot of the things that you look for in a vacation, we have at home.
Yeah.
You know, we have
air conditioning.
Yeah, air conditioner, a big area outside and inside where we could do stuff. We could just hang out inside. We could hang out outside. We have a pool, a grill, a deck. I mean, most of the things that you're kind of looking for, we have, you know, access to good food.
Indoor roller coaster.
Huh?
Nothing.
So, you know, we even, you know, so we have access to that. The issue is being able to make a decision to turn it off or turn everything off without being gone. And so I understand that. Now, I will say that most of the trips that we've been on are a lot of them, you know, they're not vacations, they're trips. Yeah. You know, they're you know, we go see something really cool. You know, we go do something really cool. We go do something that we're making memories. And as a family, now that my kids are older, we reference those trips a lot. Yeah. Because those are some really cool memories. Now, we reference a lot of other things too, not just trips. But trips is something that we've taken a trip every year, you know. So for 22 years, they got memories of at least one trip a year. Yeah. And so that's a lot of their memories together. Now, we have went to a lot of the same places because I, too, am not as good in areas that I don't know. And so it's twofold. Number one, it's the being in unfamiliar territories as far as safety. That is always number one. Yep. So we try to go to more places that we can drive than fly, just so that we can be protected better. You know, have our own vehicle, have our own form of protections, that kind of stuff with us. But I also don't like messing up. And that's more of a hang up for me than it should be. But I don't want to go eat at a $150, you know, bill restaurant and it not be good. Yeah. I don't want to go sit in a line somewhere and it take forever for something that we didn't really want to do but didn't know. Yeah. I don't want to get stuck in traffic or get lost and not get very much accomplished that day because we're in a new place. So those things bother me more than they really should.
That's why I just go to Chili's.
There you go. Yep. So once we find something that we like, we're kind of creatures of habit, and our whole family's a lot like that. And just because it's easy. So
I could get on board with that, you know. Like for me, it would be easy for me to go on a trip with you knowing that you know what you're, you know, where you're going, and what to expect. What
we're trying to expect.
I would be a lot more at ease.
Right. So with the kids, it's just like, for them, it's just like being at home. Yeah. Because Daddy's got it all figured out. But when we go somewhere different, then there's a whole lot more questions. Yeah. You know, and so that's the reason why I knew Becky and I started doing cruises early on in life because I worked for Allstate at the time, and they gave us a cruise we earned a cruise for selling a lot of insurance. And so we just kind of fell in love with cruises, and my uncle and them were really good at it. They cruised a lot, and so they taught us some tricks and how to do it when you're paying for it instead of other people. And we went on several, but then we knew that if our kids ever went on a cruise with us, that they would own that cruise ship. We knew they'd love it. And so I don't know how old they were. Maybe they were 7, 6, and 3, or 8, 7, and 4, or whatever. But we took them on their first cruise, and man, they fell in love with it
Game
just
changer.
like we did. Yeah. And just one funny story here, but you were talking about safety and this and that and stuff. So we were in a guest services line. Have you ever been on a cruise ship?
I have.
Okay. So we're on the main deck.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, so we're on the main deck right there, and there is a guest services right here. Well, right beside guest services is this bar that's the center of the whole floor, right? And the bar is all the way around, so you can see everything, all the way through. It's just a bar area, not a bar, but a bar area. And so Annalise, we had gotten her a Coke card so that she can be getting her own sodas, get her own drinks, stuff. And so she said that she wanted something to drink. We said, well, hey, we're going to just be in this guest services line right here, and you get you a drink from that bar right there. Well, we're literally, 6 to 8 feet away from her, but we're over in this line, and maybe I got the other two, and Becky's right there, and we're watching her. And she gets up there and sits on this big bar stool, and she's itty bitty, and she jumps up there and she tells them that she wants a Sprite with real cherries in it, or something like that, whatever it was. And there's an old guy, probably in his 60s or 70s, sitting next to her, and he goes, "I'll buy whatever the young lady is having." And she looked at him and said, "Excuse me?" And he says, "I'm going to buy your drink for you." And she turns to the bartender right there, hands him her card, says, "I'll buy my own drink." Just like that. And we're watching the whole thing, but he doesn't know, and she doesn't know, and we're watching the whole thing. And I was like, that's my girl right there.
Yeah.
And so
I may have drug an old man across a cruise ship. Man.
No, I loved it. I saw it as a positive thing.
I got a bad habit of assuming the worst.
I saw it as a positive thing because my girl knew how to take care of business.
Yeah.
She
should have shot him.
Well, yeah. So I thought it was great. But anyhow, no, we're going back on the cruise. So this time, now, my children are older now. So they're 22, 21, and 17.
You buy your own Coke card.
That's right. You buy your own Coke card. And thank God that only one of them still needs a Coke card. The other ones realize they don't need to drink all that soda. So, but with that being said, we knew that her having her own Coke card, them being able to get ice cream anytime they wanted to, we knew those things would really appeal to them.
Right.
And they loved it. So now we're going on a cruise, and everybody's more independent, and so because the whole family's going, and I'm saying this in front of you and in front of the camera, I am not going to have a phone plan on my phone.
Hey, good.
Meaning that Thursday night or Thursday afternoon, when the ship sails, my phone will go out about an hour later when we get out of the Mississippi River. And my phone will go out, and I will turn it on airplane mode, and I'll still have it to where I can listen to music or whatever, but I won't have any internet, no data, no text messages.
Yeah.
And then Thursday night won't, all day Friday I won't, no access at all. Saturday, when we get to Cozumel, I have a Mexico phone plan that's already just on my phone. So I'll have my phone on Saturday. And then Saturday night, Sunday, all through the night till Monday morning, I won't have a phone anymore. So that is something I'm doing on purpose.
Yeah.
It is $16 a day, and you had to pay for the whole day just to have a little Wi-Fi. But that's not the reason I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I think that with my children being older and everything, I think I can reset on this cruise because and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's unusual for you.
Yeah,
and
very.
So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, so it's unusual for me because of work, but also I will have no control over Sunday. On Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah, so that is something that I'm having band practice tonight at 8 o'clock to get ready for, and trying to have everything set up because I won't have any control over that. Yeah. So it's a big deal for me, and but we're having all of our children are there together.
Yeah.
And I think that one of them will probably pay for a phone plan. I would think that Annalise does. So if something happened with grandmother or something needed us, I'm sure she could get in touch with Annalise, or she could call the cruise ship. Yeah. But anyhow, so I'm excited about that. Excited about this trip.
Good. Well, let us know how you feel about vacations, whether or not they're important, or if you feel like they're not. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Hey, let me give you one more thing on that, just because it's Clay and Becky tips, and then we'll move on. But every year, Miss Becky and I go on a vacation by ourselves. That's hard for people to understand. It's hard for people to get on board with. We did it when our kids were young. We did it because we had to, because I was winning these trips and they were so nice and you couldn't hardly pass them up. But it set a precedent for us. And every year we go on a trip by ourselves. It may just be a long weekend to where we leave Thursday after work and come home late Sunday night, but it's something, and it's more than just one night. And those things really can be resets. Yeah. And I know everybody can't do that because you don't have the right person to keep your kids. My mom has always been there for us to do that. That's the person that we've leaned on. And so one of the greatest things that she's ever sowed into our lives is taking care of our children when we were gone, know. And and it hadn't always been easy, 3 when they were young and stuff. So, but she has sowed that in our lives, and we have taken advantage of that. And now we don't go on 7 and 8 day trips, we keep it short, but we do go on a trip every single year.
Yeah, you got a good mom. That's a huge blessing, man. That's I won't spend an episode talking about it, but you know how I feel about it, though.
Yeah, I do.
So last week we talked about enjoying life, man, and I think that episode caught a lot of people off guard, man. But had some negative feedback, had some positive feedback too, and I spent some time thinking about because we think about growing and everything, and I was just spending some time thinking about that last episode. I would say it's the most negative feedback that I've gotten in a while, as it pertains to the podcast. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, when I really spent some time thinking about it, what I realized was, I think that's part of the Enjoy Life episode. This is like, not everything had to be beneficial all the time. Sometimes you can just enjoy a conversation, try to enjoy a conversation, and not see what necessarily you get out of everything. And and that's not a knock to any of those people at all. I understand why that episode was difficult for a lot of people. I really do, genuinely. But at the same time, I think that's something that I've struggled with so much in life. It's like, if there's not a benefit for me, I don't want anything to do with it. And sometimes, man, I have a hard time with that. Sometimes I just need to slow down and sit and just be somewhere, and that'd be okay. And one of the guys that had expressed something to me, and I was super appreciative that he had expressed that it wasn't his favorite situation. We had a great conversation about it, and I just, my response was, that episode wasn't for you, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I told him that I bet that it was for someone, and it wasn't even. I hadn't got to tell him this yet, but it wasn't even an hour later. Somebody come up to me, and almost in tears, right, over that episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Almost in tears, somebody come up to me and was like, "Hey, look, man, I needed that. I needed that." And it's like, that's not the kind of episode that you would expect would have that kind of impact on someone. But man, the Lord uses all things, all ways, and we just we got to be here for it sometimes.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot of feedback on that episode yet. Just hadn't had those conversations. But I can understand, how, when you're talking about, it's important to have fun in those things that, somebody could be like, well, tell me something I really need to know. Well, that's something you really need to know. And, and we see this, and like I said, we are running a baseball podcast here, but we see this with travel ball parents and stuff.
Yeah.
We see this with not just travel ball, but anything to where kids take a lot of time doing something.
Yeah.
Because I heard a parent tell me the other day, I said, man, your kid pitched good tonight. And he goes, he didn't pitch good enough.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, he did. He pitched good enough to win the ball game. But because we made errors in the field, we lost the ball game. But your son pitched good enough to win the ball game. Yeah, but his strike percentage should have been higher. And I said, but he did his job.
Yeah.
He did what he's supposed to do. He goes, yeah, but I didn't pay all that money
No. That's tough.
for his strike percentage to be where it is.
That's tough.
Now, is that kid having fun?
I doubt it. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I doubt it.
And so what is the goal? The goal is for that kid to get better and that kid to do great. But at the same time, if that kid's not having fun, that kid's not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
That kid's now 16 years old.
Yeah.
And so now he gets to decide if he keeps playing or not. And if we're talking about you didn't do good enough based on the amount of money your parents have put into something,
Yeah.
then it's going to be hard pressed for that kid to continue to have fun. And so in life, if you're not having fun meeting your goals, why are you really even meeting the goals anyhow?
Yeah.
If it's all about obtaining things, then at some point you're going to realize that, but where is my identity?
Yeah.
It's not in those things. So anyhow, I think that that some people that may have an issue with that episode is probably because they have an issue with that concept.
Yeah.
But they'll realize later on in life
that was definitely some of them, not all of them, but there was definitely some of them that like you could tell there was like a bit of bitterness when they said it, and I think they were more bitter at the fact that I was enjoying life. You know what I mean? And it's like,
which now we've heard that before.
Sure.
To where people try to hold things against us because we're not doom and gloom.
Yeah.
I think basically what people have said before is you're either lying about how great your life is or your life is that great, I'm going to be mad at you about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of difficult.
Yeah. I know that sounded so wild, but that's a verbatim quote from somebody.
From both of us.
Yeah. And so...
Yeah,
man. I'm for you, and that's what I want you to understand. I want you to enjoy life. I want to help you enjoy life.
Amen.
I want to be a part of. I want to be part of that you enjoy.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want when you encounter me. I want our conversations and our interactions to be. I want you to look forward to seeing me every day. And if you don't, I want to change some things. I want to shift
when
some
people
things
say
about our
what's happening
relationship.
good in your life, I would like it to be something that I was involved in that comes
that'd
to
be
your
great.
mind.
Yeah.
To me, that's awesome. Well, if they didn't like last week's episode, they're going to hate it today because today's topic, and remember, these are tips to help be successful. These are tips to help reach your goals in life. And number 4 is to think positively.
Think positively, man. That's such a big concept. And I was telling Clay, because he just told me before we started filming what the topic was, and we talked about fear of failure this morning. And, that's kind of the antithesis of that is, And rather than fear failure, be positive about the things that you bring to the table. And the reality is, through your walk with Jesus, through the life that you live, there should be a lot of things that when you look at yourself in the mirror, you say, hey, look, man, I have some good things to offer. And if you can't see that when you see yourself, man, life's going to be very, very hard. And, that's just kind of my base thought when it comes to positive thought is it directly links itself to confidence in yourself. And how confident you are in the outcome of a situation is a major player in the outcome itself. Mm-hmm. And I have never went into an athletic event in my life where I thought that I was going to get destroyed and had a favorable outcome. It's never happened, Now I've went into some that I should have gotten destroyed, but was convinced that I was going to be successful and had some success. That has happened many times, but the other has never happened for me. I don't surprise myself in terms of I never surprise myself by overcoming negativity that I brought to the table. I can overcome other people's, but if I bring the negativity myself, I always have to eat it. And that's if you were going to have a potluck situation where we're all going to bring our own dish, you wouldn't bring a dish you wouldn't eat, right? That would be absurd. It's like, I hate this mess, but I bring it every time we have a potluck. So that doesn't even make any sense. Don't bring something to the table that you're not willing to take in. And for life, it's the same way. Like whatever it is you bring to the table, you better be ready to experience because you brought it, right? It's there because of you. And so for me, do I have a reason to be confident in every situation? I'll be honest with you. No, I don't. But I really do believe in Christ in me. And because I believe in Christ in me, I believe that there is some success to be had. Even if I don't exactly see a clear path to it yet, I do believe one will reveal itself if I'm patient and obedient. If I can be patient and obedient, I believe the Lord will open up a path to success somewhere in the duration of this situation. And so for that reason, even in situations that make no sense, I'm like, well, I'm sure we'll figure something out. Yeah. What's your thoughts?
No, man, I love positive thoughts. So this is a big part of my life. I like to think positive. I'm not, one that just throws things out there like crazy. But at the same time, I like it to be developed in a positive manner. It's like, to me, what's the point in having a goal if we're not going to have fun doing it? And we're not going to look at it in a positive manner.
Or you don't even really believe you can do it.
Right.
What a dumb goal.
Those things are weird. So for me, trying to stay away from sports, when we did our car for accreditation, which we still hadn't put out there to the world, we're working on that right now. We've just been busy. But, we had fun getting ready for that. Even though it was not fun material
at all,
we had fun getting ready for it. Why? Because we knew we were moving forward. We knew we were doing something positive. We knew that we were doing those things, and so we had a good time getting ready for it because we knew it was something that was going to be positive. But we also had fun when we executed the plan.
That's right.
And I know we've talked about that with the car for accreditation, but I just want to make sure people understand, not only were we prepared, we didn't just prepare really, really hard, which was more of an Andrew thing than anything, and then come the day of it, we're like, okay, we're prepared, here it is. No, we looked at that day as the day of the big game. And so now we're ready, and we had a blast doing it. We had another survey type issue yesterday that you and I knocked out of the park again, and we're high-fiving each other and complimenting each other because once again we knocked it out of the park. And so I'm happy about those things. And so being positive is a big part of my life, because it's like you see all these other people and they walk around negative all the time and they still have some kind of success.
Yeah.
But that's not me. If I'm negative, I'm not going to have any success because I'm not good at being negative. But here's where I want to really go with this, and I know we're going to get into the weeds on this, and we may have a different opinion on this. But I just kind of want to throw it out there. Because when I was reading this little paragraph they give you, it says, developing a positive mindset is about trusting yourself and your ability to succeed. It's important to replace any negative thoughts with positive ones to motivate yourself to keep trying no matter what challenges come your way. So, and I want to see where you land on this, but with me, I like to choose goals that are attainable. They might be hard to obtain, but they're obtainable.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to look at them in a positive way. I had another friend that his goals were never going to be able to be reached.
Yeah.
But he felt like if he put them all the way out there, then that would make him try that much harder, and he wouldn't reach the goal, but he'd get further than he would if he didn't do it that way.
Sure.
With me, I would rather make it, hey, this is barely obtainable, but it is obtainable. And then I feel great about it when we get there. Kind of like the car deal. You know, our goal was the 3-year deal. Now, we were going to be okay with the 1 year.
Yeah.
But at
3
the same
was a
time,
tall order.
3 was a tall order,
Yeah.
you know. And so for me, I feel like we accomplished something really major by getting that. But how do you stand on the realistic goals versus the unrealistic goals, even though the unrealistic goals may help you get further than the regular goals, but you still didn't reach it? Where do you stand at on that?
I believe if you're not a pathological liar, an unrealistic goal will not help you. Now, if you're a pathological liar, you can convince yourself that maybe you can do it. But, you know, and we deal with some of those. You know, we've had several guys, I'm not going to name anybody, but we've had several guys come through here that, you know, thought that when they got out, they were going to go play professional baseball and things like that. And it's they meant it when they said it. And so, you know, it's not something we hold against them. It's just a reality. They were having trouble embracing reality. And I deal with all kinds of people like that in life, not just here. I deal with that constantly. So for people like that, you can get away with something like that, you know, pushing towards something. But at the end of the day, you know you. And we can try to convince ourselves that we're something that we're not all we want to. We can try to convince other people we're something that we're not all we want to. But you know. You know at the end of the day. And so if you set a goal that's unrealistic, you're not really going to pursue it. I mean, you're just not going to, because you know you can't. You know what I mean? Like God, there's so many things I'm never going to be. I will not be the next cricket world champion. Like, it's not going to happen. It would be insane for me. And I could tell you right now, like, I want to be the best cricket player in the world. I know myself. I'm not going to go do that. And so I'm not even going to spend any time trying to develop it, because I know that ultimately it will end in failure. Not because it can't be a success, because I don't even want it to be a success. It's just wholly unrealistic. And so for me, I want to set a goal that's not attainable, that's probably not attainable in one effort. That's my goal. And so a perfect goal for me is a goal that to attain in one effort, I would have to perform perfectly. But more than likely won't happen in my first attempt, just because perfection is such a hard thing to pull off in a physical performance or mental performance of anything. You know, it's why it's so hard to beat a computer at a game. You know, because the computer thinks through whatever game you're playing perfectly, and we are subject to small mistakes, and so. That's a goal for me. You know, it's like, okay, if I do this perfectly, I can get this in one try. More than likely, though, I'm going to fail somewhere. But then figure out what cost me, make that correction, and then get it the second time. I don't ever set goals that I intentionally think I can't accomplish in 2 tries. Just because I think that there's something I'm not looking at really. I think I set the wrong goal if it takes me more than 2 tries I either set the wrong goal or I just lacked discipline. But that's on me. And so that's kind of where I am with realistic versus unrealistic goals.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to start small groups.
Yeah.
There's the guy that's, we're all convinced that we need to start small groups.
Sure.
So you got a guy that's like, okay, I'm convinced that we need to start small groups, and the goal is to set 100 small groups.
Yeah.
And then you got the other guy that's like, okay, I'm convinced that we need to start a small group, so let's start a small group. And then once that small group is going good, then let's branch it out and let's see if that small group can produce 3 to 5 more small groups or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you got this other guy that's never done a small group, but his goal is 100. And so, but you never done one.
Sure.
And I've seen both. There's 2 schools of thought there. But I preached this past week about we were made for more. You're made for more. And but I also looked at the story in Matthew 25 where the ruler was going off, and he gave 3 bags of silver and gave 5 bags to one guy, 2 bags to another guy, and 1 bag to the other guy. And he came back and said, what did you do with it? And the first guy multiplied it and had 10 bags. Second guy multiplied it and had 4 bags. The other one went and hid it so that way he wouldn't lose it, and gave it back. And we know what happened. And,
fear of failure.
That's it. And so we know what happened. And so he took, from the one that didn't do anything with it and gave to the ones that did. And so we learned there that, when you're faithful with the little things, God gives you more. But if you're not faithful in what God's given you, he will take it away and give it to the other. And the world doesn't see it that way, but the kingdom of God works that way. And so where I'm going with that is that we have to be faithful in those things. So when I'm planning goals, I like to build momentum. I like to be positive. I like to, do those things. And so we may have a lofty goal that is not impossible, but really close. It's right there, real close to impossible, but that's the lofty goal. But then we set other goals, as checkpoints along the way.
Sure.
And that's something I was reading in this paper. Like I said, reading it for the first time, but it says, on your path to becoming successful, you're likely to learn new things and think differently than before. Your goals will not happen overnight. They will take practice and discipline to achieve. So it's vital to think about the process in a positive manner. And so I agree with that in the sense that most goals that are worth achieving are a process. Like you said, it's not something you're just going to do one time and get it right. It's something that we're going to have to work on and manage and get better at. So setting small goals to go along, just like going back to the accreditation, we had a small survey on December the 17th, and we acted like that was the biggest survey in the world. For 2 reasons. Number one, we wanted to nail it, which we did. And number 2, we wanted to learn as much as we could, which we did. And we learned some key things in that one that went and helped us for the next one. And so for us, we put a lot of stock into that one little meeting in December, but it was for a reason, right? And so when we hit it, man, we were, like I said, high-fiving each other, real happy with each other, even though it wasn't that big a deal. To us, it was, because it was a stepping stone for the next thing. So I think a lot of times when we're doing goals, if we can find some measuring time, if we can find some smaller goals to hit along the way, it gives us momentum for the big ones.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is we all have a natural bend that we have to either support or wage war with when it comes to this. I myself am a natural pessimist. I think that you probably gathered as much when I talk about the vacation worries. My bend is towards whatever the worst thing could happen. It's very possible it will happen. Not just possible, very possible. And so, I live my life setting myself up for the most statistical way that I can be successful, because I see the others as very possible to happen. And so when you are a natural pessimist, this can cripple you, or you can use it to make your plans ironclad. And that's the way that I have learned to use my pessimism. When I was young, it was crippling because I felt like I couldn't do anything because everything would fail. As I aged, what I learned was I could make my plans solid because I have thought of everything that could go wrong. But rather than let that keep me from doing things, I was like, well, if I know everything that could go wrong, if I can set some things up to make sure that those don't happen, then how could I fail? You know? And so I've now learned to use that natural bend towards pessimism to actually make foolproof plans for situations. So if something goes wrong for me, it's usually something very minor, very easy to fix. Because I had a contingency plan for every major thing that could have possibly went wrong. And when you're talking about like how you've seen people that are both ways, some people that make realistic like goals, and then some people that make these crazy lofty goals. I've got a very good friend of mine who we're on very opposite ends of this, and he's always on me telling me I need to dream bigger and I could do so much more if I would just dream a bit bigger. But I've also seen him dream huge and miss repeatedly. He lands every now and then, and I'm super proud of him when he does. But I can tell you that if he were to come to me tomorrow and tell me that he's going to do this inside of whatever amount of time, I would not believe him. It's not because I don't believe in him, because I know he has the ability to do it, but I've also seen him say things like this repeatedly and never get the win. Like you don't get the win. I get the wins. And so here's what that brings to the table for me: setting realistic goals and finishing them. You know, whether it takes me 1 or 2 tries, I do finish them. If I say something, people believe me. And for that reason, I have an immense amount of support when I make these decisions. So if he and I, and you and I have actually, or I say you and I have mentioned this to you before as an idea, haven't pursued it, but we discussed. I was like, hey, you know what I think would do really well? If there were like a really good donut shop near the school in Mangum. Yeah, I think that could, when I was at Pineville, Harlow's Donuts was right next to Pineville High School, and it was just kind of like ritualistic for all the kids to kind of go through. I think it could be something that was really successful. Now, I've not considered that that's actually something that I'm going to do, but it did cross my mind enough to where I mentioned it to see if you had any thoughts on it. And if I were to say, I'm for sure doing this, there would be people around me who would help me financially to support it, just because it's me that said it. And because if I feel that determined about it, and you guys have watched me win repeatedly, you would believe that if I'm willing to stick a shovel in the ground, that I've obviously done the research necessary to make sure that this thing will succeed. Now, you take my buddy, same scenario. He's like, I think I'm open a donut shop in Mangum, looking for guys to, possibly help get me started, get some of this off the ground. That conversation would be totally different with those same people. They'd be like, man, I don't know if I'd throw any money that way. Seems kind of like a hasty decision being made, And so the fact that you don't finish and you don't get wins, it doesn't give you the support that you need to get wins in the future. You know what I mean? I've built a support system through these continued wins and through finishing everything that I said I was going to finish. And so I think it's not just important for your morale to set realistic goals. I think it's important to prove to the support system around you that you are capable of finishing things. And the more support you have around you, the loftier goals you can set. I can set financial goals greater than my financial reach, because I have support. People who believe in me, because I've proven myself belief worthy. And so that's a big deal too.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. And I'm glad you kind of went that angle, because, I too have a friend that would have big lofty goals and swing and miss a lot. But when he hit big, but I've always been a little different. Jimmy Halsey asked me the other day, working on a flip house, and everything about this is positive. Everything looks great. Everything's moving forward. I mean, it just couldn't have really went any better. And he asked me, he goes, look, you're really good at this. You know exactly what you're doing. You're set up for this. Everything's cool. Why don't you do this more often? And I said, well, I'm not opposed to it, but I said, the reason why I'm very successful at it is because I've never messed up.
That's right.
I've never missed.
That's
I've
right.
never done those things. And so I'm very cautious in the projects that I take on because I really think that I can go the rest of my life that I do it and not pick a bad house and not pick a bad project and not pick a loser. I really think that I can. And so because of that, hey, we have been successful, but I really don't want to lose. I really don't want to mess up. I really don't want to, not be able to move forward each and every time. And so we don't take on bad projects. We don't take on risky things because, number one, we don't have to have it.
Yeah.
So if we don't have to have it, then why would we take a risk there, that we don't have to have? So anyhow, I want to be able to be positive, move forward, do those things. But like you said, having people in your corner, having people be able to trust you because you did things correctly means a lot too.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
means a lot
And
too.
so, man, that's it for me. I would just encourage anyone here and we do this, I want to say semi-regularly on this podcast, is encourage you to set some goals. And I'm going to call them 2-strike goals.
Okay.
It's okay, first pitch, try to hit one over the fence. I don't mind it. But you need to hit that second one in play. Yeah. You miss twice, that third swing becomes real difficult. So I'm going to call them 2-strike goals. Something that is going to be difficult to accomplish in one try, but something you believe that you can accomplish in 2. And bring some positive attitude to the table, man. Believe in yourself. That doesn't mean believe in yourself so much that you set a goal that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
But believe in yourself that you are someone who has the skill, who has the discipline, and hopefully has the favor of God on your side because you are in a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And through those 3 things, man, you can get a lot done.
Amen. Yeah, hey, if you got a goal of losing 100 pounds, hey, change the goal. Lose 5.
Yeah.
Once you lose 5, let's lose 5 more.
Yeah.
Once we get that done, hey, let's see if we can add a little exercise to it and, lose 5 over the next 2 weeks, or whatever. But, don't just have it so high that it's not obtainable or whatever. Make some realistic goals and be able to knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Everybody loves those stories, man, where
Yeah.
somebody sets a crazy goal and accomplishes it. But the reality is that's like a 1% type deal. It's not something that just happens all the time.
Yeah.
When you can't base your life on things that happen 1 out of 100 times, you know what I mean? It's just not something that's going to work for you.
We love y'all, and we'll see y'all next time.